I open up my manual to Brian Kane's mental performance mastery coaches certification. And on the first page, you see testimonies. And right then and there, Coach Ethan Miller, front page, baby. And I said, man, this guy's got it going on.
One comment can completely change things in the lives of those which you serve.
If I'm going to be the best, I want to learn from the best. Control what you can control. And I reflect back to this football season where we had starting quarterback out, starting receiver out, linemen are banged up. We're playing a top team in the state. School's way bigger than us. And
the mental game is not another thing on your plate. Mental performance is not another thing on your plate. Mental performance is the plate.
All right, Coach Ethan, what's up, man?
How are you today?
Oh, man, I'm so excited and fired up for this.
Absolutely.
So
Me too.
thankful to have you, man. Just happy to get this going and just talking ball and mental performance, everything. And I'll let Coach Ethan dive into, kind of his background in MP and mental performance mastery. But let me give you my experience with Coach Ethan. So I open up my manual to Brian Kane's mental performance mastery coaches certification. And on the first page, you see testimonies. And right then and there, Coach Ethan Miller, front page, baby. And I said, man, this guy's got it going on. High school coach. He loves coaching baseball. He's worked his way into NPM. And I said, you know what? If I'm going to be the best, I want to learn from the best. So I hit him up on Twitter and find him, and think I did Instagram too, and just started kind of stalking him a little bit on there and sending a few DMs. And before you know it, he's like, hey, Grant, look, not too big on Twitter and Instagram. Just call me. Sends me his number. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm calling him. So I'm like, telling my wife, get the house clean. It's a Zoom, right? So get the house clean. Got to get the background, get the kids outside, make sure everything's normal, and feed them so they don't come in looking for food. Like I want to FaceTime him and all this stuff. And so we hop on, man, and you just right off the bat, just walking me through the process and how you got things going and what your recommendation is for me, and just kind of making it super, super simple for me to just navigate things. And we've talked a few times since then, and every time it's just so enlightening. And I'm just so thankful that there are guys like you, in the coaching profession and just giving back to guys starting out like me. So very, very thankful. So glad we started this relationship. I will end up in Iowa at some point, probably just following you around. So let's crank this off with you just kind of unpacking, your background and, your experience with collegiate sports and playing days and getting into coaching, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah. So I got my start, within athletics at a very young age. Both my parents were educators. My mom was a high school art teacher. My dad is he was a high school and then junior high band director. And I often get that question, like, okay, you're like this athletic kind of like motivational, like guy, how with your parents and being in the arts. I'm like, well, my mom's a professional artist. She has, they're both now retired. She's got stuff all across the country. My dad is actually being inducted into Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this summer. He's in numerous groups as he rides a Harley. He's got a handlebar mustache and just absolutely crushes it. But they taught me the importance of hard work, dedication, commitment, and so on. Just watching them in their craft, because you have to be that way in that specific field. Played all sports growing up. Grew up in a town of Humboldt, Iowa, which is in north central Iowa, and been in Iowa my whole life. And as I was moving through all the sports and football and basketball and baseball, and tried soccer, and I tried, swimming. I'm not good at either of those. But then as I got older, around fifth, sixth grade, I started noticing some tendencies in myself of what we would now call perfectionism.
Yeah.
And what that turned into was putting too much pressure on myself. I was, held myself to such a high standard, and just how to navigate failure and where to work through that. Well, when I was growing up in the, I late elementary, middle school, high school days in the late 1990s, or in the 1990s and to the late 1990s when I graduated high school, mental performance training was never a thing. And there's a lot of good of like, hey, suck it up, put your feelings aside, get the job done. ton of that. But now it's like, okay, I probably would have benefited so much from the work that I get a chance to do now.
Yes.
But as you know, as a guy and as a male athlete and so on, we're really good at masking what our emotions are, right? Until it just becomes to a point to which we pop, and then it just all comes out. But then I was, as I moved into high school and I was, played all four sports,
Mhm.
experienced all the state events, state football playoffs, state baseball tournaments, state basketball, even the Drake relays, which is, as we're recording this, Drake relays, happening in the state of Iowa, which is, Iowa's like, I mean, claim to fame in terms of just like, nationwide track event and
Yeah.
a chance to be a part of all that. But I still battled that perfectionism. I
Yeah.
would look at positive performances as a relief, and I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, I'm supposed to do that. Yeah, I'm supposed to, you know, get hits. I'm supposed to make tackles. I'm supposed to make
Yeah.
plays on the court. I'm supposed to run fast because I work at it. And then
Yeah.
we don't replay it the way we're supposed like we should. But then if it was a negative, I would just go in this endless cycle, and then I would just again be very, very good at masking it and hiding it.
Yes.
After high school, I went to Northwestern College in Orange City, Iowa,
Mhm.
and played baseball. And after my sophomore year, my introduction to the mental game happened there. I played for a great coach. When I was on campus, great with people, great with emotions, great with just navigating situations. But then I had a chance to play overseas for a NAIA national team in the Czech
Wow.
Republic, and we're in training camp in Cleveland, Ohio. And I was getting stressed out and frustrated about a drill. We're playing some of the best players in the country at our level. And coach walks up and says, "Hey, Ethan, hey, just one pitch at a time, man. One swing at a time, one rep at a time." And I just like never heard that before. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this wizardry that you're talking about? And I used that for the remainder of my college career, just that
Mhm.
one concept.
Mhm.
And for guys that are listening here, as far as coaches and leaders, one comment can completely change things in the lives of those which you serve. Now, after college, tried to continue playing college baseball, or excuse me, try to move into professional baseball,
Mhm.
but never, had anything that came about. Got into teaching and coaching. I was a physical education major and a health minor with a coaching endorsement. I started coaching high school baseball, fresh, ripe age of 23.
Nice.
And after a few years into it, of you know teaching PE and high school health and coaching baseball and coaching football, and I started noticing things within my own athletes that I saw within myself. Is hey, a guy who's you know, down 0-2, he's already done. A football player who misses a tackle and he's beating himself up and he's already stuck from what has since happened, and he takes the next 3-4 plays off. For the track athlete who gets so worked up and about themselves before a race that it diminishes in their ability to perform.
Oh yeah.
When I started looking into like, okay, well, I know how to coach the physical, but I had no idea how to coach the mental, and it was starting to become more around like say 2007 2008. And I was at the Iowa High School Baseball Coaches Association convention, had a chance to hear Brian Kane, and I'm like, this is it. This is what I need as an athlete, but also this is what I can give in service to those that I'm essentially in charge of.
Mhm.
I did a deep dive, read the books, listened to podcasts, did all these things. And then when I became a high school athletic director, I had the opportunity to bring Brian actually into our campus for a few days. Him and I hit it off, and then from there it was, I hit the road with him. We co-authored a book, did a couple podcasts, and I say this before every podcast, speaking engagement, so I owe so much to him and to giving me in this to be in this position, because I had a chance to see it,
Yeah.
call it taking a chance, or saw something, but did events with him and traveled around a little bit, and then when I authored a book myself, some local high schools like, hey, I've seen some stuff on social media, would like to have, you maybe help us out because I see some things on our athletes. Okay, cool. Boom, there's one. And then boom, here's another. And then here's another. And then here's another.
Mhm.
Until, and this is about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, maybe. Yeah,
Mhm.
9 years ago. And then while I'm still then I'm a AD at a small high school, so it's not a full time just standalone. That's a position. I'm still teaching and coaching, doing all this. So I was an AD, head baseball coach, assistant girls track and field coach, coaching, teaching high school classes of character and leadership, high school PE, high school health, senior level classes, serving on the district leadership team, building leadership team, and
Hmm.
professional learning, PLC head of a social emotional learning group, and just wearing all sorts of hats while still being a husband and a father, and trying to do that at a high level while then coaching the mental game with every single gap and break that I had.
Hmm.
And this continued on, and business continued to grow, and impacts kept happening. And so then 2 years ago, I made the decision to step away from the formal education of reporting to the same building each day, and to then take on mental performance full time. Which
Hmm.
I got into this accidentally. I
Hmm.
mean, I always saw like, hey, what Brian Kane did, or like what Dr. Brett McCabe does,
Yeah.
um, of just like traveling and like and work with people, and I'm like, God, that would be so awesome to make it a part of, like, to have that be a profession.
Hmm.
And it got to a point where I was not able to sustain what I was doing
Right.
within my schedule for, like, that time frame.
Yes.
And now it's been a transition, an absolute blessing, to now do this full time, and something I just feel blessed to be able to do every single day, to be a part of people's lives and their success, and to be I'm cool being the behind the scenes guy, right? It's
Hmm.
just this ain't. I often tell people this is not the Ethan Miller show. I'll put on a show, but it's not about me. It's about pouring into those athletes, those coaches, coaching them up, and then just being a part of what they do in a very impactful way. So that's a little bit of my origin story of how I
Hmm.
even got to this point in time. And it started with one team back in 2000 and yeah 17, 18,
Hmm.
to now this year alone is over 1,200 coaches and athletes all across the country.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And just congrats to you on all the success, man. It's awesome. And you talk about what resonated with me. I'm thinking about my phrase that someone's told me that got me out of the slump or got me thinking differently. And sure enough, it was through my learning of mental performance and mastery was, you know, control what you can control.
Yeah.
And I reflect back to this football season where we had starting quarterback out, starting receiver out, linemen are banged up. We're playing a top team in the state. School's way bigger than us, and whereas before all this, I probably would have just been in a fetal position and just deep breathing, trying to figure out how the heck am I going to figure this out. And instead, that one little phrase, control what you can control. And I said, well, what do I control? If it's really bad, I'm going to write it down. But I had to say, okay, all I can do is script practice, bring the energy to practice, show that I'm confident in what we've got, and then show up and call the plays and just let it happen. And just that alone, whether I actually believe myself or not, gave me so much peace of mind to just go perform, man. And it's amazing, like you said. And what really stuck out to me too, Ethan, was you know you're saying how to coach the physical game, all the ins and outs of the fundamentals. And I was the same way. I'm teaching psychology and I know this stuff in and out. And I'm still sitting there watching players have panic attacks at practice, during games. And I'm thinking, okay, I can tell them to kind of take the deep breaths, but, it never got to a point where it was always like a constant reinforcement of like the coaching part of it. It was always a band aid for something that was happening now. So, with your experience, 1,200 coaches and athletes, I mean, what are the trends that you're seeing as far as, you know, keeping that state of mind, that consistent stacking the days, working on the mental game? How have you seen that pay off for your athletes and coaches to the point where they kind of hit that light bulb like we did and say, okay, I get it now. Like this is what needs to be done, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and it's been an evolution, like being in the field. And the scope of the ages of athletes I work with. My youngest one-on-one client is 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest is 25. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like It's all the way, and it's every single level. So we got
Yeah.
middle school kids, we got high school kids, and like full athletic departments, and junior college, NAIA D3, D2, D1, and then those who are trying to then move on afterwards, and also those who are not just, but those who are in the professional world, building
Yep.
businesses, building their families, and
Mhm.
what I see for a trend is there's so much still a ton of misinformation when it comes down to the mental game.
Mhm.
And think about this: we do so much on the physical. You can take a kid and be like, "Hey, he's got a nutritionist, he's got a weight coach, if he's a golfer, he's got a swing coach, he's got, his own individual coach, he has his, caddy, he's got all these things physically." And then we just go, "Yeah, man, that's awesome. He's got a ton of coaching, some people pouring in." But then when they say like, "Hey, we got the mental coach," it's like, well, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
And so we get this like concept of like, well, what's wrong? Ooh, there ain't a single thing wrong. It's another layer of support, another step, much like
Mhm.
my lovely guy on the ladder here, or much like the
Yeah.
Sisyphus pushing the rock. It's another step of support, and every even more so high achievers. You talk at the Olympic level, high level, power. What we can even say, power five, power four, high level college, big time stuff for the
Yep.
mids to whatever it may be. There's typically somebody in place to provide that support because everybody's got their stuff.
Yeah.
And whenever with an athlete you talk about psychology, or it's breaking down that too, as far as it's not counseling, it's not therapy, it's a conversation of what's
Mhm.
actually happening and what's taking place in those moments. And so within that misconception, as far as like, hey, it's not what's wrong. It's like, hey, how can I just get better at what I do? Because we just do so much physically, and we can view like the mental side of things as like, hey, they're one the same, and they support each other and they mirror each other. It's not just one or the other.
Right.
But within also some misinformation too is, I understand the importance of statements and phrases of like, hey, man, we just got to get 1% better today. Hey, we'd be better today than we are tomorrow. That's really, really hard
Yeah.
to actually do. I
Right.
mean, if each person stepped in the weight room got 1% stronger every single day, they'd be just blowing numbers out the water. We'd have guys that be getting faster every single day, or girls who are, hitting more 3-point shots every day, or improving their kill efficiency 1% every single day. But it comes back to the present moment and trying to lock people in
Mhm.
as much as you can. So when
Yeah.
challenges strike, when adversity strikes, it's like, what do they go to? Hey, am I trying to get 1% better today, or am I going to give 100% of what I have today?
Yeah.
Then we shift the focus, right? Hey,
Mhm.
better today than was yesterday. Well, yesterday I had a great day, but today my body feels entirely different.
Yeah.
Sometimes be a fist fight. So what's my mindset going into it is like, you know what? I'm going to give whatever I have here today.
Mhm.
And present moment focus is not just about the success that we have. It's easy to be present when you're QB1 and you're making every single throw.
Mhm.
It's easy to be present when your team's up 30-10 in the first quarter of a basketball game.
Yep.
Easy when you're 4 for 4 on the softball field. And you're like, I'm as present, locked in as possible.
Right.
Harder though when it's not going our way, when we're going through then the struggle or going through the battle, then we can see a little bit of like pulling back.
Mhm.
So present moment focus is not just about being where your feet are, but it's appreciating the moment that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And I've been pushing that big because we resist it when challenges show up.
Yep.
We say, "Oh no," when it's going to happen. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be this fist fight and battle royale that's going to show up.
Right.
And it's not just like, okay, I'm being present because everything's going my way. I've got success. Hey,
Mm-mm.
be present here, locked in. I'm struggling. It's really hard. Yeah, that's when you need it most. It's easy over here versus being over on this side. We got to appreciate the moments that we're going through because it's teaching us something, it's telling us
Yeah.
something. So when we have that to go to, when it's maybe not going our way, okay, yeah, going back to what you said, Grant,
Yeah.
control what you can't control. Hey, we can't control what the other team's doing. Oh my gosh, we're down 15 in here in the second quarter or first half.
Mhm.
Okay, the only score that matters is the one that's at the end of the game. And the scoreboard is nothing more of a reflection of what has since been. It has no impact on what's going to happen down the road.
Mhm.
And to appreciate the moments that we are experiencing is something that I've noticed, and I've been teaching and preaching it, and it gets people to kind of see it through a different lens. Motivation is probably 10, maybe high side 20% of what I do. The rest is building trust and relationships, and then also provide the perspective and the lens in which we see things.
Mhm.
So if we can see through the right lens of like, okay, what's happening here, or as Dr. Rob Gilbert, famously of Success Hotline, says, "This ain't happening to you; it's happening for you."
Mhm.
So
Wow.
any struggle that we're going through, it's going to happen for you. It's teaching you something, but we just don't know when it's going to actually hit and when it's going to take place. We say, "Oh yeah, that's why," you
Yep.
know. And so I see a ton of that, but also with distractions of outside influence and expectations and social media. We can do a whole entire different podcast series upon that as far as how to get
Right.
people locked in. But yeah, just the additional challenge of what mental performance is and what's not. It's not just simply speaking to somebody, giving them a pep talk. It's much like, when you're coaching, you can't just be or like parenting. If you just go hands off and just let them do whatever it is they want to do, and all of a sudden you come swiping in one day and you're like, here's what's going to happen. It's not going to have an effect. It's
Uh-huh.
consistency across the board, day after day, moment by moment, meeting people where they're at, while also then challenging them to say, hey, what's the line that's the end we're going to draw when it comes down to our level of, hey, what are we going to accept or what we're going to not? And there's a lot of toughness that comes with it. There's a lot of grit, a lot of relentlessness, and within mindset, it's not everything, but it impacts everything. So how you step into that next training session, how you step into that practice, how you step up or step into that spot when it's like, hey, appreciating the moment, like, hey, being present, here it is. But when it goes well for you, you're like, okay, cool, awesome, I pushed through it. But when it doesn't go well, we don't use it as a crutch and as an excuse because I didn't have it that day. Nope. We say, you know what? Hey, that was just that day. All right. And so that focus and perspective to bring that and teach that takes time. But we have to look at it in the same way as like different skills. How do we train those skills through situations that happen away from their sport so that they can handle it better when they step then inside their sport?
And it's like it's just like a support system for everything. Like you said, when you have when you train your mental game, okay, when you break it down and say, okay, what am I doing this for? It's to make that practice better. It's or like Ken Revisa, he would say, I want to make your bad days less bad, but with different language. And that's
Yeah,
it. And
sure.
when I look at it, like you hit the nail on the head. It was, just thinking about how do you explain what needs to be done on a process for it. And when I talk to guys, high school guys, I'm like, all right, let's talk bench press. Okay, everybody wants to bench press a house, right? So are you going to bench press every single day? Probably not. What are you going to do to support that
Yep.
bench press going up? Well, you got to sleep. Well, you got to have protein. You got to give your body nutrients. You have to do some shoulder work. You have to stretch. You have to do things that will make you able to have energy to wake up and go work out and do bench press. So when you think about it, there's a lot of things that go into one task. And if let's say your task in mental performance is, well, I don't have any confidence. Or after a mistake, I just give up. Okay, well, now we have a task. So now let's kind of take little pieces around that and build those pieces up to where we say, okay, boom, something bad happens. It happened. Move on to the next play, move on to the next pitch, do what you can do. So yeah, it's hard to understand. And I think part of it too is the fact that we've been in it and we're coaches helps us a lot. But it also makes us, it kind of from the outside looking in, so many people who are outside of our world will ask me and say, so, I see you got this business, like, what do you do? And it's kind of like, well, honestly, I just want to say whatever you need me to do. But there's no, magic pill where you say, look, oh, here you go. You're going to have excellent mental performance now. It's like, no, you have to go through the curriculum. You have to understand the entire process from the outside looking in, and then you zone in on what your life needs the most. Like I got a track runner, Chris. He'll be on one of these interviews. He loves the visualization. He's never had a time in his life where he can turn the switch off and just sit there, go through the mental imagery, go through the visualization, and just breathe. He's never done it before. And it's like, he's like, Coach, I got to do this before every track meet once a week, go to bed. I'm like, you got it. So we record his confidence statements, his conditioning statements, and we get it going. At the same time, I've got a Division One football player says, I wake up and I'm like, all right, what do I have today? And I have no organization.
Yep.
And you're thinking about things outside of that. So it's like you said, you paint the big picture and then you fine tune it to where what they need and what they want. So coach, let's talk a little bit more about, when you go into a session, people are coming to you for a reason, right? So how do you break it down to where you say, okay, I've got my 10-year-old volleyball player versus my ninth grade quarterback versus my Division 1 golfer? What's your process like from that? Basically, in psychology and the licensure part, it's that clinical interview. But how do you break down their needs, what you're going to implement, and your whole process to that too?
So when getting started, like whether it be so if it's a one-on-one set or like one-on-one client or somebody if I'm running a consultation or just initial like, hey, kind of get to know you is just asking questions, things like, hey, when you're performing, what's it look like when you're like being your best? What's it look like when
Mhm.
you're being at your worst? And just having them describe that, and then they're going to give you the answers. Same thing with like when you're coaching physically. You set up drills, their ability to do that or not do that is going to give you the answers to the test. They're going to teach you. So then I'm just listening and asking questions and facilitating. Hey, what's an example of this? And it's, you'd be very surprised or maybe not surprised. The kid who's 10 or 15 or 23 has the exact same stuff. It just varies upon what their current reality is
Yeah.
and what their current position and situation is. Everybody has worries. Everyone's got fears. Everybody's got doubts. It's, maturity plays a lot with it also, right? I mean, somebody who's 20 some
Oh,
years old versus somebody who's like 10 years old. But the young people they don't have a lot to unlearn because this is all just they're remembering things new. I mean, even think growing up. I mean, Grant, you remember bits and pieces and kind of bullet points of like your elementary school years,
yeah.
but you can remember stuff a lot more when you're like in middle school and especially high school, then college. As you mature, your memory starts to grow a little bit more.
Mhm.
And so those younger athletes, it's about just asking questions and getting to know like, hey, but then what individuals can, as they get say towards high school years and even college years, they can describe it in bigger detail because they have such a wider band of experience.
Mhm.
And so with the younger athletes, I'll get a lot of feedback from parents as far as like, hey, here's what we're seeing. If it's like a team session, I'll like I'll have an idea of what it is I'm gonna hit on and getting things kickstarted. But typically I'll start with one-on-one sessions. I'll say, hey coach, I need you to write me up with these 10 guys I'm gonna meet with. Give me a little bit of a breakdown from what you see.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't tell the athletes what the coach says, but it's helping me to build that. So I'm asking questions and I'm formulating these things like a couple days before even going in. And then even just asking questions with the coaching staff. What do you see within the culture? What do you see within the behaviors? What do you see when things go well? What do you see when things don't? And I used to go in like years ago because I was new to the game. I'm like, all right, I got to show everybody like what is it that I know. And no, it's about being really strong with what we're trying to get across. So I used to go in with like these, presentations and like all this flow chart. Here's what's going to be. And after being in this for years, I'll sometimes go in with like 3 or 4 main bullet points, and conversations with athletes and coaches will fill in the blanks for me. And now I did get a chance to spin it
Yeah.
in a positive way where it's going to be impactful just for their group. Now, there is a foundation within the mental side that you have to hit on, right? Understand like what mental performance is, what's not, what are some key components within, mindset and play some focus and emotional management. What our, habits and our routines and all these things are. But then when it's not just, I'm going to talk about one concept, say process. It's process has like, that's got mindset in it. It's got habits in it. It's got leadership in it. It's got discipline in it. It's got mindset in it. It's got so many different things. So there's a book called Make It Stick. I fail to recall who the author is, but they talk about this concept of interleaving,
Hmm.
which is like you start blending all these different components. So the example would be if you're in baseball and you just, all right, guys, we're hitting fastballs here. Let's go. All right. And all you do is just hammer fastballs, hammer fastballs, hammer fastballs. And the guys, they're just working on fastball, 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 and they start going well, blah blah, and then they're like,
Hmm.
okay, now let's go work. Now we're working breaking stuff, and all you do is hammer, break a ball, break a ball, break a ball, break a ball, and they are getting good at that, right? And then we walk away from it like, yeah, that was great. Those guys are getting it. They're smashing curveballs. Versus the other side, that'll be like massed practice. Now, space practice or interleaving is like, hey, all right, here we go. Coach, we throwing. Yep. Bam. And you hit him with a fastball and they don't know what's coming. You throw a breaking
Yeah.
ball, you throw it, no, throw again, like, oh, he threw two breaking balls in a row. He's not going to throw the third one. Bam, here comes again, because that's what actually happens then in competition. You got no way to
Right.
predict it. You got to be ready for anything as far as what's going to happen in the moment. Same thing comes from the coaching side of it, physically or even mentally, is you're going to pull all bits and pieces from all sorts of stuff because you take like discipline, for example. Discipline takes mindset, discipline takes routines, discipline takes focus, discipline takes process, discipline takes different areas that work with it. So early on I would hit on, like, say, hey, one concept just to understand it, but I'm more just kind of like I hit here, hit here, hit here, hit here, and then blend it all together what's going to be fitting for that individual in that organization.
It's awesome. I mean, and with your experience, I mean, like you said, you could walk into that meeting with 4 bullet points and just say, all right, let me see where you're at. And there's probably a few times that you walk into a team setting or an individual one-on-one session and you're like, I've never seen this before, or I've never heard this
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
It's always repetitive. It's always something that you've been a part of and you've dealt with and help people get over.
Yeah.
So that being said, let's talk about, success stories, man. If you had to think of, somebody that, obviously was probably one of the worst states that you could think of, and how they got out from working with you and being on the other side. What
Yeah.
comes to mind when you think of that type of story or that kind of client, which I'm sure there's many to think of, but
Yeah. I mean, it's always exciting to see, the national championships, to see the conference championships, the all state accolades, the all Americans, the players of the years, and all those things. It's easy to see that.
yeah,
It's really easy to go to that point because those individuals were just as invested. But I tell coaches this, and any coach who's I've ever worked with who might listen to this, they'll laugh because I say, I don't often, whenever I'm on site, I don't want people to suffer. I don't want them
right.
to struggle. But when I see it, oh, it just gives me so much because, like, okay, their gap, there's their need. That is what is something that we need to target and look at. And it goes back to that, hey, appreciating moments, because when things are all good, hey, cool. I can have great body language. I can connect with my teammates. No problem. I can even look at the stands and point at my boys or point at my friends and whatever it may be, and be good. But it's like when it goes the opposite direction, I'm like, okay, then we get a chance to see some things. That's different for each person. But
Mhm.
when I see, some of the stuff that I have experienced within, like, say, even using college golf, for example, a guy who shoots 7 over on one day and can respond and bounce back and go 3 under the next day,
Yeah.
right? And not let it completely destroy. And to watch a kid work through an 0 for 8 slump that he had in a couple games in the course of in the middle of a high
Right.
school baseball season, and then come back and then hey, check out this stat line, right? For another athlete who has maybe some battles with a coaching staff, right? And not
Hmm.
and not being like, well, yeah, your coach is this or that, and like, no, like, we're
Hmm.
respect professional, respect the game, man. But it's like, okay, again, what can we control now? What should our focus be on? And what they can have as far as building that belief system. To the parent who calls me and says, yo, man, my kid don't cry when he loses a wrestling match anymore.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, right. And we're talking about, I mean, young kids, here in the state of Iowa, man, we got wrestling's a thing, right? And
Oh
it's
yes.
big time. And when they're like, hey, they don't cry, like what do they do? Hey, they're able to move on and be prepared for the next match. I'm like, beautiful. That's great. Or when I step inside of a high school to work with a, entire athletic department, run one-on-one meetings and coaches meetings and this, and I have a high school principal say to me like, yo, man, this kid right here, he's starting to get it. Like, we don't have that many behavioral issues anymore. We don't have like, that's the stuff that
Hmm.
really, really fuels me. And,
Yeah.
with, and regardless of the level, right? If you're, I mean, as working with D1 athletes and working with, um, junior college athletes or high school athletes, there's always going to be pressures and doubts and fears and need to perform,
Yeah.
but it's how can we get to see it through the right lens? And I've been very, very fortunate to work with some great people and some great coaches. And I'm very, very blessed to do so, and to be, a part of their puzzle piece. Because within a human, we know this too, and the coaching side of things is it takes a lot of people, right, to pour into an individual. I
Yes.
mean, we got teachers, we got coaches, we got parents, we got grandparents, we got close friends, and
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
boyfriend, girlfriend. Yeah, right. We got all these people that are trying to then assist and guide this human, and that's where it's about a position of service, and to be able to do that in this position is so. I mean, it's like a high you can't buy.
No.
Every day working with work with people, um and that's what's been, stepping away from the formal education side, is now my days are just filled differently. It's,
Yeah.
this morning, my first call was at 7:30 in the morning with a student athlete before high school classes, and then have had, college athletes and, everybody else in between, leading up to this, time we've had a chance to do together. And I'll run this for the rest of the afternoon before, the family gets home. But it's, yeah,
Yes.
it's, when I say I got into this accidentally, I mean, it's a way for me to be like, wow, this wasn't the plan,
Right.
but this found me. I didn't find it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
This spoke to me, and that the experience that I had, and growing up, as far as like ballot perfectionism and battling all this stuff and like trying to work through expectations and comparison and like what everybody has,
Yeah.
to now I can help other people work through that. But because I went through that, I know what it looks like.
Hmm.
I know what it looks like. I know what it sounds like. I know what it feels like. I know what it smells like. I know all of it.
Yep.
To where I can then say, okay, here's something to consider. Here's a different way to look at it. And that's something that, yeah, it's can't say that we're blessed or, you know, excited enough, in
Right.
terms of what I get a chance to do.
And talking to other MP coaches, it's like, you some people might look at, the calls and the time, the screen time is work and a chore, but like you said, like every time you hop on a call, like it's just you're talking to a human being, like it's a relationship, it's
Yep.
not like, all right, jot this down, you're gonna need this for this week. Like you're invested in this person, you're invested in this human being, and it's a whole nother experience that you get to be a part of with them, and
Yeah.
like we say, we're in it with you. When I say you need to be disciplined, you need to be organized. Like, guess what? I have to put the alarm clock in the other room so I don't hit snooze. I
Yep.
have to make sure that my week is laid out in the 168. I mean, it's not like I'm going to tell you to do this and then you better do it. It's I'm in it with you. This is how it works. If it doesn't work for you that way, let's make it work. However, you can benefit from it. So, um, you know, those experiences and those relationships make it so easy to sustain this and keep it up, because I'm in your stage right now to where you were when you're starting out. I got the football, I got the powerlifting, I got the classes, I've got the kids, and the little gaps in between, it's like, all right, let's jump in and do it. So it sounds so complicated, but like you said, reframe, perspective, relationships, helping a human being get from where they are to where they want to be. It's really just it's part of my life, and I have to do it. And you're the same way. I mean, this is what drove you to be a coach. It's what fired you up as an athlete. So we're in it, man.
Yeah, for sure. And, building that trust and building that relationship, can open just like even so many more doors.
Yeah.
Because then it's, not that I would like try to get, hey, why do you have trust issues? You know,
Right.
like because some kid, you know, stole a kickball from you when you're in first grade or recess, right? And like,
Right.
we'll get if the person decides to open up in some different areas as far as like, hey, maybe their past experience, but
Mhm.
every person is where they are because of their past experience and their environment.
Yeah,
For them to take a little bit more additional ownership of what they do, and also thankful for the parents and for the coaches that have entrusted me to be in this position.
mhm,
That's something that do not take lightly whatsoever.
for sure. For sure. And it's part of, we have our reasons, we have our why.
Mm.
And like, for me, it's I never got to experience college football like I wanted to. I never got to play the game to the level that I always wanted to. And it's like that fire in me that never got to get it done. I don't want to see that happen to you know anybody else. And that's kind of
Yep.
why I even became a psychology major, was just because I, I don't want anybody else to go through this ever. And it's what motivates me, and it's definitely something that has helped me as a dad and helped me as the teacher. And I always say it, like you said, we're in it together, and you've trusted me, as a parent with your client, or with your student athlete, and I don't take that lightly at all. And you're one of mine, and that's how it works.
Yep.
So, all right, Coach, I don't want to keep you too long because, like I said, you've probably got meetings all day, man. You got it rocking and rolling. So, um, I guess we'll end with this. Just kind of put in perspective, if you're a one coach kind of looking to implement mental performance training into their program, how would you go about it if you're starting over? And number two, if you're an athlete that's kind of on the brink of those tough times where the
Yep.
failures are getting worse and worse, and it's taking a toll on you, and you're losing the motivation, you're losing the commitment, and you're waking up kind of saying, why am I putting myself through this again? That kind of feeling, and losing that love and passion for the sport. So talk about a little bit on both points, how you go about approaching mental performance, and then we'll wrap up with that.
As a coach, the mental performance side is not something that is like an add-on. It
Mhm.
is embedded. It's a part of, so if you listen to coaches, get a program, you get into content and just trying to learn as much as you possibly can. I mean, reading books, writing stuff down. I mean, blocking
Yeah.
off time to actually do that. I mean, I'm a 4:45, 5 a.m. wake up
Mhm.
guy that used to be going to the gym, coming back, and then get my family all squared away and things like that, and then go off to the school day. But now I'm a 4:45, 5 a.m. wake up guy to where now I read to start my day, get the coffee rolling, get the house kind of woken up a little bit, and then I get the girls going, get the family rolling, blah blah. Blah. They peace out. Then that's my exercise block, and then I
Yeah.
start my work block. Then after that, so it's allowed me to do something. So whatever it is that like you're taking in for content, then just apply it. Learn stories,
Mhm.
how to present stuff, and how to just gain and apply to yourself first. And a statement I always say is observation before implementation.
Mhm.
Observe where the need is, and now figure out a way to implement. So if it's like as a coach, like yeah, our guys, our girls, our team, whatever it may be, they can't move on from one play to the next. Okay, then
Yeah.
so what's something then we can implement and practice it in training so that when it shows up in a game, which it's going to, then we have built that communication piece into that. So within like, yeah, we do the mental game.
Mhm.
Well, it's not another thing on your plate. Our
Mhm.
coaches and our adults and people, we hear this all the time in education. We hear this all the time in coaching. It's another thing in my plate. I've already got uniforms. I've already got budget. I've already got travel. I've already got depth charts. I got to separate teams and who's going to be at what, or who's going to be on my floaters between freshman level and even who's going to be maybe a JV kid or a JV kid to a varsity kid, or what's that going to look like. And I've got all this stuff, and then parents, and then schedules and all this. Another thing on my plate, I'm going to add the mental. I want you to think about this. The mental game is not another thing on your plate. Mental performance is not another thing on your plate. Mental performance is the plate.
Mhm.
It's the plate that holds it up. We've all been to a barbecue and it's flimsy, and we got put our hands strong underneath of it to build a stronger foundation so we can pile the food on, or we just, you know, double up or triple up the plates. Well, we get like Easter dinner, baby. We got that firm piece of china that's strong and we
Yeah.
can load up on everything. We can handle way more. And that's the
Yeah.
same thing from the mental side. It's the plate that holds everything else up. We can handle it and see it through a different lens and through a different way. But you need to implement it on yourself first within your own life because you're not, because kids, I hear kids today, kids today can sift through more fake
Mhm.
BS than any other generation. You and I growing up, an adult says something, we're like, got it. We never
Right.
like, well, do they really care? Do they really know what they're talking about? Kids,
Mhm.
our people today, oh, they can find it, but when they get it and they understand that you're actually there and know what you're, because you're living it and you're, modeling it to them, it's like, oh man, you're presenting a lifestyle that they're gonna be able to use for the rest of their life. So then the coaches bring it back, learn as much as you can, study as much as you can when you can, but you got to block time off to do so.
Right.
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 We complain about the state of our culture and our teams or our mental makeup of the people that we have for athletes, but are we dictating time to try to learn about that? And that's how I got into this position because I was just tired of complaining about something. I'm like, I got to figure out how to change this.
Mhm.
As a student athlete, college athlete, from the mental side is this: you can't go at it alone. We just can't. There's a statement that I really enjoy is if you want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, go with somebody else. Um,
Nice.
the best surgeon in the world can't operate on themselves. Everybody needs somebody. I got a guy. I got a old, elder, retired coach, deacon guy that I've known for 25 years that we have check-in sessions, right?
Mhm.
Just, hey,
Yep.
man. He's like, where are you at? How's the family? How are you with, like your mental side? How are you with, we all have to have somebody that
Yep.
we can connect with and that we can talk to, that we can, work through our own stuff. So if we're able to do that, and we've got to make sure that, hey, there might be something missing within your approach. It's probably not the physical.
Powerful. Absolutely awesome, coach, man. Man, what an awesome time we've had, and just can't thank you enough for getting on here. I get so fired up talking to you every time we hop on a FaceTime and a call, and especially I think it was one time we hopped on a Saturday and we're both drinking our coffee, and I'm like, yeah, I just got my high knees in and my push-ups, my pull-ups, and you're like, yeah, I'm training for a marathon, just got my 7 miler in, but nothing beats coffee after a workout. And I was like, God, I couldn't imagine, but it
Right.
was great. And just seeing where you've coming from, and it's so much easier talking to another high school guy and knowing where I'm at and what I'm doing. And when you said you'd be able to come on here and just kind of drop the Ethan Miller knowledge, I was like so excited. So thanks again for coming on, man. Check out
Absolutely.
Coach Ethan's site, ethan-miller.com.
Yep.
And I'll put the link in the description. And of course, we'll put everything we can put for his socials down there too. And looking forward to doing this again, man. This was really fun.
Absolutely. Appreciate the time. Keep serving.
All right, man. Talk soon.
Yep.